Judges, are you ready? Negative team, are you ready?
Yes.
Are you ready? Okay, I'm going to start off with consumerism, DA. Judges, their argument about consumerism is fundamentally flawed. The Neg cannot give us a solid statistic of how many or how many it would take to cause this problem. Their argument is completely reliant on assumptions and shows no proper statistics of how, or like previously stated, how many people it would take for their wild claims to happen. I will now extend a card for my partners 2AC to further prove my point. No, there is no impact. Immigration does not impact the environment. Whitman, 2008. It's debatable whether immigration has any significant environmental impact. Scientists say that there is insufficient evidence to draw a conclusion. Economists have argued that the immigration-fueled population increases will make little to no long-term effects against the U.S. environment. Immigration helps us to slow population growth, and immigration from the developing world tend to reproduce more slowly than other would have been if the countries that they had stayed in. The Neg cannot deny this fact. There is no effect by immigration that would impact the environment, and they have not given evidence to counter this, as well as the fact that they simply did not solve any of our cards from our evidence, talking without evidence, and that should not be assumed as evidence, and our evidence backing it should be preferred. With that saying, we should win on consumerism. I'm going to now move on to solvency. Their argument that we cannot solve for Trump is simply wrong. Trump alone cannot stop our plan. Along with that, their argument about that has nothing to do with any of our solvency cards. Them bringing up cards that has nothing to do with our solvency arguments does not counter our solvency cards. I'm going to extend a solvency card to further prove our point. Substantially lifting the cap and disregarding nation of origin is key to obtaining global buy-in for greater resettlement. Paragraph 17. The United States should in fact significantly increase the number of refugees it admits rather than suspending refugee arrivals. The United States still lacks behind other developing countries too. Basically, what I'm going to summarize this card, it's basically saying that if we do this, and other countries will do this, and we are lagging behind other countries that are accepting refugees, and this is bad. And our argument that Trump doesn't scare off refugees absolutely counters it. It's stating that Trump will not stop refugees from coming to this country, meaning their entire solvency argument is useless. With this in mind, I can only see an apt vote on solvency. I'm going to move on to advantage 1, soft power. In our ACER 17 card, we clearly outlined that other countries will let in more refugees. The refugee leadership argument is a failed attempt to counter our card. Our card is saying that other countries will see it. It does not matter if Trump doesn't want to. Soft power is not decided by Trump. It is other countries' opinion of us and how we use that soft power. With all this in mind, we should win on soft power. I'm going to move on to our final advantage, which is terrorism. Judge, the Neg has failed to mention on our terrorism nuke war card, and their claim that we did not answer their claims about terrorism is ridiculous. We clearly read evidence that counters this, so I'll extend it again. Preventing refugees from entering the U.S. ruins our counterterrorism efforts by giving terrorist groups more motivation. Randolph 17. Only 20 out of the 3.25 million refugees were convicted in attempting to engage in terrorist activities in the U.S. Only 3 U.S. citizens have been killed in attacks, ironically committed by Cuban refugees. There have been 0 terrorist attacks or deaths committed by Syrian refugees in the United States. Legislation establishes discriminatory immigration policies will only embolden actual terrorists to implement future attacks against the United States and consequently recruit vulnerable individuals. The executive order isolates the U.S. from our Middle Eastern allies and African allies and undermines our intelligence agencies working with the U.S. in the Middle and Muslim communities, which such relationships are vital to domestic counterterrorism. Discriminatory immigration policies will only galvanize ISIL and other foreign terrorist groups to exploit refugees and become radicalized. What we're saying in this card is that basically, without our plan, there will be a rise in terrorist activities and potentially, like we had stated earlier in our 1AC, a terrorism nuke that could wipe out our cities' ability to respond and start a massive war worldwide. The Neg has done nothing to properly counter this card or our terrorism nuke war card and other cards, meaning that they have dropped terrorism and we should win on it. With all this in mind, Judge, I strongly urge an affirmative ballot. Thank you for your time.